record. I think people actually do watch these. Anna's having trouble coming on. I think I let her in. Oh, she's back. Good morning or afternoon, depending on where you are today, to our September JDayUSA group. It's virtual. We meet online third Thursday of every month at 11 a.m. Eastern time, but we get visitors from all over the globe. And we're pretty much a group of business owners that make money from building Joomla websites. That was the idea, to get us together. We're not really the hardcore developers of Joomla. We're the ones who are exercising Joomla every day, trying to use the tools that the hardcore developers develop. And we're putting it to use for our clients, which are normally businesses or organizations. And we're trying to make a living. So we come together and we introduce ourselves to begin with, who we are, where we're from, you know, what we're doing in Joomla. And let's see, it's September, start of the school year. So what's the coolest thing you learned about or used in Joomla lately? You can real quick tell us that as a fun question. We'll go around the room. Today we have a spotlight. Pat's going to be our spotlight, which she's going to tell us, and maybe Paul might be doing it with her, I think. They have a really unique way of generating content for websites via interviewing the person the page is about. So I can't wait to hear about that. And just to let you know, anyone in this group can be a speaker and give a presentation. We've been going on maybe 2 years now, a little bit more than 2 years maybe. So, you know, we always are looking for new people to be speakers. If you know of someone, if your favorite person is willing to come and talk about your favorite topic, just talk to Joe. Joe's usually in charge of picking out who gets to be speakers. And we'll have them at the next meeting. So we're just going to say our hellos, and we're going to start with Joe, and then we'll go to Paul.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Joe. I am a recovering serial volunteer and been part of the Joomla community since 2005. And my web brand is Joe Joomla. And the coolest thing I've been doing in September is behind the scenes working with some brilliant people. And we are redoing the JDayUSA website, and I have to tell you, I've learned so much from some real smart people. So that's what I've been up to. And I'm from Canada.
Yay. Okay, Paul, and then Tim.
Well, good morning, everybody. I've been playing with Joomla for a long time as well, and doing websites before then. And so Pat and I had been friends for a long time, back when I was working with the Chamber of Commerce and met her in that process. But in working with her, she's introduced me to a different set of templates and so forth than what I had been using, a different framework. And so seeing the similarities of how they all implement Bootstrap and so forth is enlightening. But more than that is the chance to work with somebody and collaborate on how we would pull together the content is what we're going to be talking about. And establishing ourselves in the community and building relationships is all important. So we'll talk about that later.
I love that. Tim, and then Derek.
Hey everybody, Tim Davis here, Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, on the left coast. I've been doing Joomla since back in the Mambo days. I started using Mambo just before it forked to Joomla. Something cool that I been playing around with Joomla this month was accordion menu CK. And I actually did that on my live stream yesterday. We took a look at it, and the thing that really sparked my interest was the CK menu stuff, mobile menu CK, max menu CK, and accordion menu CK are just the best ways for doing a menu in Joomla, especially a vertical menu. But Cedric has added a search field at the top So you start to type in the search and it will automatically reveal the menu links, the menu items that are in that menu. So it was, I thought that was pretty cool. So it's on my channel if you want to check it out. But yeah, I think it's pretty neat.
All right. Derek and then Pat.
I feel like I'm going to be Derek Downer here.
Oh, no.
I'm not sure exactly when I joined this group, but I retired about a year ago in a few weeks, and I had given myself 1 year to start building a business with Joomla. I'd been working with it with a few websites, my sister's business, Scouts, and a few similar ones since went way back to 2008, I think. Anyway, I've always enjoyed playing with it, especially the frustrating parts when something goes wrong, just working out the puzzles. I have failed to build a business yet. So I feel like a bit of an imposter in this group at the moment. But I'm still learning from you guys and from Tim in particular and similar resources. So what I've decided to do, I should mention my girlfriend, long-term girlfriend. We celebrated our 16th year yesterday, and she was looking forward to having more time with me after I retired. For some reason, she still likes me. And so I have decided to cut back. I am still going to try to get a few businesses or community groups is going to be my main target. And I think I can't remember when we first opened up here, somebody mentioned word of mouth was their best. Was it Pat, I think? So I ran a repair business many years ago, and that was pretty much how I got customers, was word of mouth. And I'm hoping that'll work again to a very modest degree. I'm not looking for anything grand anymore. So as long as you guys don't kick me out, I'd like to stay.
We don't kick anybody out.
Okay.
Nope.
Everyone can stay. Pat and then Ann.
Okay, I'm in Tennessee and I started my Joomla career just before I was hired to start the Chamber of Commerce in Perry County. And that's where Paul and I met. He was on the board in Hickman County. And we would talk Joomla. I don't even know how that came up, but it's been a good relationship that we have stayed in touch all these years. And I'll talk more about it in the presentation, but my latest thing, and I wanted to say, Tim, I'm so glad you're here today because I wanted to thank you for the presentation that you did on the GP Translate. And I have put that on every government site that I have. They all have a responsibility to Title VI, and they have to demonstrate that they are doing what they said they would do. So we have put that on there, and then there's a medical center in our town that gets government funds, and they fall under those guidelines as well. So, and everybody is impressed with it. All I have to do is show them the translation into Sanskrit or Hindi or whatever that is. I have no way to check it, but I do have people in Asia that look at it, and they've said it's better than Google Translate. It's more accurate. I wrote John and I said, can you make it so that that little button is not associated with a particular position, and we can move it around because it's in the way for some and not for some others. And so it could be an individual thing. And he did that. He also made it so that we can totally turn it off if somebody decides they don't like it anymore.
Cool.
But yeah, Tim, that was such a good suggestion or presentation on that.
I was going to pick that as my favorite thing, but then that was I think August or July.
Yeah, it's been a while. It was just recently though in the scheme of things, but yeah, they all jumped on board, even the ones I thought would be reluctant. And that I guess is my favorite thing right now, that to be able to give them something. They can get all these little governments can get state-supported translation services but this is not going to do them any good on the website. And I never even considered that we needed to be accommodating the accessibility for people. I mean, if they can't read, they can turn on the button and the page will be read to them. You have that either or option. So I'm eternally grateful, Tim. And that's about it. And then we'll talk about the last website that Paul and I collaborated on. I never was ready to collaborate with anybody before. I didn't want to lose control. It's my baby. I want to rock it myself.
That's awesome. Anne and then Rhonda.
Great. Hi, everybody. Recognize a lot of people from Joomla Day in Nashville. And thanks for the GP Translate. Boy, that's a good thing for me to add to one of my sites. And I love J filters. That's my new thing. And I'm also working with Tim. He's helped me get through this J3 upgrade, which has been a little rough. And J filters has really, I don't know if you know, it's just great. It's just great for this big site with a lot of long blogs and lots of articles, and it's a nice tool and it works really well with UTheme. And that's my fun thing. And you guys have given me something I have to check out, this GP Translate, because I do a state site, so I really need to add that to it. Thank you.
Awesome. Rhonda, want to say hello, and then Lisa. Oh, just
There you go. Rhonda, my company is Technogizmo, and I'm based in Texas. And my favorite thing right now that I've done is we discovered how to, in UTheme, to put a sticky section at the bottom and put little icon buttons. And we use that for phone view on a client's website who wanted their phone view to look more like an app.
Oh,
So that was fun.
wonderful. Thanks. Lisa, and then Wesley.
Hi, everybody. I'm Lisa. I'm in Virginia, Fredericksburg, Virginia, just a little outside of DC. I've been using Joomla since 07, 08, somewhere in there, since the J1 days. And it's not a cool thing in Joomla, just a cool thing about Joomla, but I do, I have a bunch of maintenance clients, or just every month I go in, I update all their things, and I run a Google PageSpeed report for them. And I'm like 50-50 that other CMS and Joomla right now. And I gotta tell you, the page speeds in Joomla are just like so much better than any other CMS. And that's with all kinds of optimization software and the other ones. It's just the way they're built is so much worse. And they just never reach, without like a stupid amount of work, the levels that Joomla has, even with, you know, a ton of features and functionality. I just love how fast it is. And when I was running my reports this month, it was earlier this week, so it's fresh in mind. It's also really easy. I use my site's guru to do updates, and it's doing updates for Joomla sites. Ding, 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 done. The other CMS, you can only do one at a time because it's not as smart. So anyway, that's my favorite thing about Joomla this month, is that it's really fast.
Nice.
One quick question, Lisa. Are your sites mostly in Joomla 4 and 5, or?
Nope. Nope. I don't have any in 5, and they're like 50-50, 3 and 4. So
5 is lightning speed.
yeah, it's crazy. So
You're gonna like that when you
yeah,
get
it's so fast, and I'm not even in like the fast one.
yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Wesley, and then Anne.
Hello, Wesley from Tucson, Arizona. I've been using Joomla since its inception and love the product. I learned something about myself this past month, and I think that's my learning lesson, is that I have no interest in assisting people in moving from Joomla 3 up to 5. If they haven't migrated from an earlier version already into Joomla 4, I just don't want to be bothered with it. And so I turned down a very small project to help with that. And I realized that where my forte is I much rather design from the ground up and be like the creator and know all the stuff from the inside out, versus taking over someone else's calamity where they have to maintain the site. So that was my big learning lesson this past month. Good to see you, everybody.
So Wesley, I had a couple clients like that too. I did a lot of migrations. But if you don't want to do it, send it over to Tim.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Tim will
lots of
take
people
on
who
the
would love
worst
that.
Tim will do it.
migrations possible in the world, gladly, because he likes that stuff.
I'll do it and pay your referral.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, thank you.
Give them their name. Yeah, send them over to Tim. And then Emmanuel.
Yeah, hi, I'm Ann Noda Thomas. I own eCambria and I live in Syracuse, New York. I've been using Joomla since 2011. The project that was kind of fun for me recently is I have a client. She's older and she's an author of a kids book series, and she likes to do blogs from her characters. And so she always wants to do it herself, which is good, but she's never been able to understand it. And then there's a long break before she does the next one. So she forgot everything from the last time.
Yeah.
And of course, she's a creative mind, right? So she wants pictures and she wants text, and then she wants different kinds of pictures. You know, it's not just write a blog post. So what I was able to do is I created, I used custom fields and Teso's advanced custom fields and regular labs content templator. And I basically put all these fields in, you know, here's text fields you can do, here's picture on the left, picture on the right, slideshow, text in between them. And I said, just pick the ones you want. And she actually accomplished her first one with her pictures after I'd worked with her for years. And so now she's getting all these ideas about new posts to be doing. And we're also working on the email so she can send it out to her list. And so that was kind of fun. Plus I'm working with these little miniature horse characters. So it adds more fun to it.
I love that, Anne, and you kind of stole my learning, but it's very similar to yours. That's my favorite thing I learned this month. Emmanuel, and then Andrew. I'm not sure if you can speak when it comes to your turn, but you can also type if you're just typing. We'll read it.
Well, for me, let's see. Nothing really much learning other than, you know, helping with building latest version of Joomla. I've been involved in more and more teams to help Joomla, the organization. I mean, I could say more pride than per se learning. I got there's a very famous university in France called Arts et Métiers, and they have a US alumni site, which I built some time ago, which was in 3 dot something. Made it all the way to the ELTS version, and we just finished the conversion to 5, which actually was honestly very easy. The only thing that made it a little bit more interesting is we decided to move away from Hikashop and go to Joom Donations component, because they were more looking to do donation per se, and I was cheating and I was using Hikashop for donations, which was not exactly meant for initially. And Joom Donation is made by a very active member of the Joomla community, Tuan, and his team, and they also help with actually the code of Joomla. So it's always nice to give back to people who help, you know, Joomla go forward. And the features are more in line with what you need. Like you can do a donation in the in honor of someone who's passed and things like that, which of course you can't really do in Hikashop. So that's it for me.
Well, all right, wonderful. Andrew, do you want to say hello, or do you want to type something? I don't see anything coming up, but I do know he said hello at the beginning. He said, hi, everyone. And this might be his first time. Anna, are you there today? Hi.
Anna said hello in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why don't I- okay. All right, everyone. So my name is Robin Clapp, and I'm from Connecticut, Northeast, United States. I've been doing Joomla since 2006, and I help run this group with Joe and Richard, who's not here today. And the coolest things I've been working on lately, kind of I did listen to you, Anne, at the last meeting when you said you were having a lot of fun with the fields, and I'm like, I really haven't dug into fields as much as I should. And I was collaborating on a couple of jobs with Adam Melcher, and he just couldn't stand how I had everything module like all over the place. And he said, just one page, just do all those modules instead of as modules and put them in all as fields. And so you go to the tab and you fill everything out. So I did subforms, repeatables. I was using frequently asked questions. I have just been going crazy and building out product pages for some clients, not e-commerce, but they just have a lot of pages where there's a lot to it with products and gallery of images and descriptions and frequently asked questions and testimonials. And they're all on one article in the article manager for each product. And I love it. And so I've kind of been going crazy with fields, and it has been super fun. Before we go on to our spotlight today, I forgot, I didn't mention a lot of any Joomla news. And we did have a Pizza Bugs and Fun, and we have Emmanuel here, who is a rock star when it comes to that. So if you've got a moment, Emmanuel, if you want to just give us an update on how we did at our annual Pizza Bugs and Fun event.
Sure, it's actually not annual; it's semi-annual. There's two per year. There are two per year, and they're linked to the releases. So that the idea is you get together with everybody around the world to test out an upcoming release, so that it's as bug-free and as painless for everyone as possible. So I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I would say probably around 70 PRs. So for those who don't know what a PR is, it's when you have a problem or a new feature that you want in a project like an open source project like Joomla, you go to GitHub, you describe the issue or you describe the need, and then someone from the Joomla community who is a dev who actually knows or is interested in the topic will actually either try to solve the bug or issue or try to develop the feature. And that's where the PR comes from. So it's an issue that becomes a PR. And those PRs get reviewed by maintainers. The maintainers kind of decide, okay, it makes sense to put this in the code and it won't destroy anything else. And then the release managers, kind of have the final say of, well, yes, it makes sense for us to put this in this release because we're trying to beef up guided tours. So this is a PR that has to do with guided tours. Let's put that in there. And they're kind of the orchestra leader, and the maintainers are kind of like the cops to make sure we don't do anything that breaks other things. And so in this particular session, it started with Australia around 3 o'clock in the morning, and finished in the west coast of Canada around 7 p.m. or something like that. And we covered like some 70-ish PRs. So some of them are small, some of them are medium, and some of them are large. Some of the stuff that we covered would be like in 5.2, which is currently in beta. Actually, I think today might be a release candidate, but around that zone, we'll have auto starting guided tours with images. So that means that if you have a product like an actual component, you could literally, when the person installs your component, have a self-popping up, self-starting guided tour using what's already built into Joomla to explain to people, how it works, and you can have the menu automatically open and click on, and typically what guided tours do. So that's really a cool thing, and it was successful.
Oh.
And lots of pizza was eaten.
Yeah. Thank you for anyone who jumped in from this group and checked it out. I know I have all my logins all figured out, and so I was able to jump in and start working, and I appreciated seeing everyone hard at work that day.
And the idea is, even if you don't have Even if if you missed one because there's only 2 a year, the concept of these 2 events is kind to let people know that you can do that on your own anytime. Literally, you can go to GitHub. I can send you the link, and look at the, we'll say 40 or 50 PRs that need to be tested, because once somebody writes the code, for it to be approved to even get to a maintainer, we need at least 2 people to try the steps and validate that, oh yeah, it's fixed. Obviously, more than 2 is okay too. And for some more complicated features, the authors or someone like myself might put out a message on Mattermost and say, oh, we'd love to have a few more tests on this particular PR. Especially things have to do with routing. Like there's a new feature coming out in 5.2, which is better for SEO, but it's one of those features where we definitely would want a few more tests. Thanks. And so the idea is, if you have either free time or interest, or want to understand how Joomla works from I would say from the backside of the world, underneath it all, there are a lot of teams besides the Bug Squad team and the PR team and the Pizza Bug and Fun team that would love your help, even if it's half an hour a week. There's no time requirement. There's a documentation team. There's a CMS release team. There are literally dozens and dozens of marketing team that would love your help.
Yes. Thank you for the recap on Pizza Bugs and Fun. And I think, Olivia, you might even put together one maybe just for our group where it's not on the annual day, just to do that maybe sure. This winter, just for fun. So more on that to come. And I didn't see, Anna did say, hi all, not able to take an active part, but she's going to listen, and she's a graphic designer from Sweden, and she's been building since version 1.5. So thanks for jumping on, Anna. And oh, Dorothy's jumping in. Oh. We have a latecomer. Good thing I have my little alarm. All right, so we're gonna go into Pat's presentation. I don't know, Joe, what you can do for an intro, but I'd love you to try.
Pat, intro Pat? Oh, absolutely. So Pat is a rock star. She is this, like she said, you said you're from Tennessee, right, Pat? And she got involved with the team JDayUSA, and I didn't know anything really about Pat until we decided to do a promo video. And then I found out who the real Pat is. She is this amazingly enthusiastic, take an idea and run with it person, because when she submitted her little promotional, we all had to submit a 1-minute video of ourselves based on this theme that we agreed with in the promotion. And she submitted hers, and I went, holy cow, she just raised the bar. I have to scrap my little pathetic effort to submit. And that JDayUSA promo video turned out to be awesome. So Pat's that kind of person that you love, because she gets in there, you see this person, and all of a sudden she just freaks you out with all what she's all about. So this is how I know Pat. She's an enthusiastic, wonderful Joomla volunteer, and gets her hands in stuff. And today we're going to hear some really cool things that she's done and learn even more about this mysterious person. So Pat, tell us all about you.
Well, I could just sit back and relax now. You've done all the work, Joe. We were talking, I think it was on a JDayUSA meeting last month that we were all talking, and somebody popped up and said, who do we have? And I said, well, I'll volunteer. Paul and I had just completed, or we're in the final stages of the website for Centerville, Tennessee, which is a neighboring county. I do a lot of little towns around here, and they're pretty much cookie cutter, but I don't treat them that way when I'm working on their site. Each town has a little bit different quirk as to how they divide up the responsibilities. And one of the things, you can have a wonderful site, you can have the best design in the world, but if you don't have the content that they need, not what you think they need, then you're not doing your job. And I heard that complaint over and over. I lost the Perry County website for a couple of years when we had, I'll call him an interim county mayor. And when the old mayor got back in office, then I started hounding him. I don't have any problem hounding. What I have a problem with is cold call and marketing that way. And every one of my sites has, well, the vast majority have been, oh, do you do that site? Can you do that for us? And so I go over and meet them and then come up with a number based on the size of the community. Because there's not a lot of money in Tennessee. We don't have any state debt, and my county in particular has no debt. We've been able to pay it off and pay it down. And so you kind of get a sense as to what they can afford, and you can cut it back as to what the services are that you would provide. But they had actually looked at the site, Centerville now, had actually looked at the site for another town in my county called Lobelville. And Lobelville only has like 600 people in it. I mean, it is small and trim. And most of the people in this county do live out in the county, not in the towns. So we had put everything together so that on the Lobelville site, so that nobody would come in and make payments for utilities or property taxes. They would use the link on the website, and there was a company that would collect both. That's not usual, but this company came in, did an evaluation of what they needed. And so somebody in Centerville, the office manager, in fact, came over and said, I want to pay my bills. And they said, you have to go online. And that was what started the ball. They couldn't believe this little tiny town of 800, 600 people was had such a beautiful site, and it was so it was streamlined. They're using it as a tool, not as just a billboard. And that's one of the things that I also push when I do a site is, what can I do in the site that will relieve some of the pressure in your office? And paying the bills online was one of those things. So the mayor called me from Centerville and said, can you come over and talk to our office manager? And I did. And I mean, I didn't have to sell him. He was already sold. But I also had this friend, Paul, and Paul lived in Hickman County. And I know he works those towns as well as the county information. So I thought, what am I going to do? Because I don't want to step on his toes. That's the last thing I'd want to do to a friend. And I thought, he knows everybody. He's local. I can call him or text him and say, can you get this part done today? Do you have your camera with you? Can you run over and take so-and-so's picture for the dog pound? It was just little things like that. And it's worked out really beneficial. So I added Paul into my quote, and these people, the site they had was so god awful. The menu system was a big box, on the home page. It was not in a list or with subheadings, none of that. It was just words, and you had to know which one was going to take you somewhere. And so that was the main thrust when I got into the design part, is that it had to be user-friendly. And Joomla it makes it so easy. And I'm going to let Paul talk about at the point at which he was brought into the whole process. Paul?
Thank you, Pat. One thing that's very difficult to do in a small town is to sell yourself as an expert on anything, because they already know all your faults and your personality and so forth. So it's a lot easier to get involved with somebody that can be seen as an expert, like Pat so richly deserves. But a lot of what I got into with Pat was knowing the people there and how they connected, and something about the local culture. And so my job would be to schedule a meeting to go out and talk with the people at the water treatment plant. And so I'd call them up and go out to the water treatment plant and walk in and tell them what I was about. But I would basically tell them the first thing is, just tell me what it is I need to know so that I can put on the website what people need to know about what you do. Show me how all this works. And so after a little bit of ice breaking and so forth, then they would start taking me around, showing me all the treatment processes and where they were doing things in water, for example, flocculating all of the sediments and so forth out. And, you know, different steps along the way, and then finally into the laboratory where they do a lot of work that reminds me of what I studied in graduate school in chemistry. And, you know, truthfully, I developed a lot of respect for those people. But mostly it was a matter of asking them to teach me what it is that I needed to know and just let them talk. So that was good. Water was an interesting topic. Going to the airport manager, the second one that I had known there, but they had developed the motto that they were the nation's friendliest airport. Now that's obviously debatable since they do about the same thing other airports do, but the truth is, if they think they're the world's friendliest airport, then they're going to act that way. And so we developed a pretty good friendship, and he's out there showing me his airplane and all these stories and so forth. So you're building a professional relationship with people and gaining their trust and beginning to see how everything fits together. And then when we finally got over into the maintenance department, it turned out that it wasn't organized quite like we thought it was. It was a different kind of structure. They had the maintenance director that was responsible for all the underground pipes and the things on top of the ground and the streets and so forth. But the pipes ended with the water treatment plant and wastewater and so forth. They had different departments doing it, but you know, we figured all that out and got it put together. And the truth is, I had a lot of fun talking with people and learning a lot about what it is that they do. And so building that trust, then they would come back and call me if there's something they needed to add or correct any mistake or a thing that we didn't understand. And so, like I said, you know, it's nice to be home and working with people that you know. And like Pat said, the original website was awful. It was a do-it-yourself model. And I know you've all seen those things. And people really don't understand how the information works or how people search through things. And as for Pat, she's got an eye for design, and you know, she's got an idea of how things need to flow through a website, and that complements my own understanding of how things are. So my biggest hurdle with her was moving to a T4 framework and trying to figure out how to adjust the template and so forth. But it's all about the same, so we didn't have any trouble. But it's been a pleasure working with Pat, and we've got some new friends.
And I'm not a program. Well, I was a programmer, but that was before Joomla, and I don't do anything in it now. But I don't know JavaScript. I don't know, you know, PHP as well as I should, or CSS. But I can get hold of people that do. And so I've got one man in Hanoi, and another one is in India, and they were actually working for a company where I got my templates from. 20 years ago, I was working with them. And they kept contacting me. Do you have any extra work and that sort of thing? And I never wanted to give any of it over to anybody. I didn't want anybody to take and get into my design and screw it up. But if we did have a problem, if there was an extension that had a problem in it, I keep WhatsApp going 24/7 on my desktop, and I can communicate with them in their off hours and so forth, and it's great. So I've got Paul over there being my on the ground person, and I've got two people over in Asia who are helping me out when it comes to the technical side of things. And in the middle of all of this, no, the mayor had asked me, he says, how long is it going to be before we see our site? And I said 6 months because I take my time and I'm doing XYZ. Well, with all of this extra help, it got done in 3 months. And that was wonderful. Um, you know, and I know they were impressed, and everybody was saying, well, it's certainly better than the last one. But we went in and did interviews. This is where I wanted to talk about the information. And Paul and I both had something similar in mind to go in, record the interview with them, and then you turn around and use AI to interpret it like a meeting, like the meeting minutes that are done. And then we could put everything that was pertinent into that particular page and learned a lot about how things are done over in Centerville, which is quite different. They've got about 4,000 people in their town, and that's just in the city limits. So, you know, it was a little bit bigger town than I'm used to, but the first thing I did, I screwed up so royally with the very first design. I was just popping stuff up on the screen. And one of the things I said was I called the women in there, all the women, there are no men that work there except the mayor in City Hall. And so I called them the ladies of City Hall just to get something up there for a title. And this woman called and emailed, and she gave me a piece of her mind. And I said, look, I could have called you anything. I could have called you the bitches of Centerville. But, yeah, you know, it would not have gone over at all. I knew that. And I said, we will get this all straightened out. By the time the site was done, she was so happy with how we had broken down. She's a building inspector, a female building inspector, and she has to approve zoning, and she has to go out and do things. We don't have this in Perry County. We're so small, we don't have that department. You can build and do anything you want to in this county, and people do. But the interview process and then turning those notes into something that's accurate and properly describes what they're doing not only helps them to get the communication out to the community, but we have an influx of people coming into Tennessee now. And that started a couple of years ago. People are trying to get out of California, New York, Florida. We call them halfbacks here, halfway back. So people from Florida they didn't want to go all the way back to, let's say, Wisconsin for the winters, but they did want to get part way back because they were tired of the hurricanes. So and we have no state income tax. So it was, it's a good fit, but we're having growth that we never expected to see. Our property taxes went off the wall. You got to keep up with all of this data because they're going to be coming in and they don't know anything about this part of the country. They don't know anything about our county and how it's structured. So my thrust was, I'm a newcomer. What do I need to know? Where do I turn on my utilities? Where do I get the electric turned on? Who's providing internet service? And if I have, is there anything that I can go out and do a volunteer with? You know, that sort of thing. And we got it all on there. And I don't know, all I know is that the mayor put on Facebook that it was, that he was so happy with it. I don't even remember now. I think he said, if you need a website, this is the woman you need to talk to. So that's why I say word of mouth is what I go by. And I guess, Paul, can you think? Oh, I know. We were talking yesterday, Paul and I were, and he said he learned some things from me that I always took for granted, that I go out and take pictures of everybody so they have a portrait. And I went back to school when my second husband passed away so I could learn graphic arts and some of the things that I picked up there. And I make sure that they're all posed in the same way, you know, facing a 45-degree angle, turning their face toward me. And then I get all those pictures and build a background. And if it's a government site, it's usually got the state flag and the country flag and that sort of thing. And we did more or less nice backgrounds for Centerville that didn't include the flag because there were so many administrative staff. But I volunteered to share this because the content is valuable. It's important, and we cannot lose sight of that content that we are building these sites for. The customer knows what they know, and sometimes you have to drag it out of them. That's it. Paul, did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah,
Are you
I
gonna-
wanted.
Are you going to show us a copy of the site? Are you going to share your screen so we can?
Oh,
Look to
I
see.
can. Let me see. I didn't set it up right, I'm sure. If I move it over here,
You can usually share your browser.
yeah. Let me get up here and get it up.
Well, while Pat's doing that, I wanted to mention that what I used for interviews was an app called Otter on my iPhone, and it would transcribe the text,
Nice.
which made it a lot easier. Plus, it recorded the audio, and then it even summarized the text, which is absolutely amazing because with the Tennessee accent that many people have, somehow it managed to transcribe it, the summarize, to make more sense than the actual transcription did. It's amazing some of the words that came out, but that's been a very valuable tool with me.
Author. Okay.
All right, I've got my screen up. Now, where do I go to share this screen?
If you go down the bottom, there should be a green button that says share screen, and then you can select your browser window.
I got it.
Does she need to be a host to be able to see that share
No,
button?
I gave her
I
permission.
see.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. I see share.
Yep.
And then that. Okay.
Pick the right window to share.
Okay.
There we
So
Oh, here
do
we
you
are.
see it?
Yes.
Okay. To go over what I put, the pieces I always try to put into a site is latest news going as a scroll, because, you know, we get weather, shut down City Hall. We get weather, roads are closed. And so this was a simple one. Simple is best when you're turning things over to people that do not have a similar background. And then you see up here, Tim, where I put in the English speaking thing, and I can move it around the screen.
Nice.
And there's the choices of the languages that I selected. There's like 60 languages you can choose from on this thing. And so I'll pull that out. And then on the side is Facebook. And it took some maneuvering, but I've got the mayor actually putting stuff in Facebook now on the town's website, on the town's Facebook page instead of his personal page. So, I mean, it's like, you know, do you really want to put your personal Facebook page on the website for the town? That has turned out to be good. And then I have Everyman down here for accessibility. And that gives them the option, the reader, the option to choose the things that are important to them to be able to read the site better. And then
Question, what's the name of that one?
accessibility tools.
Yeah, but which one is it? Because this is not the built-in one from Joomla.
No, it is not the built-in one. It is one that I liked it better because this gives it to me in a form that I just think looks more concise.
But what's the name of it? Do you remember?
Oh, no, I don't remember.
Is
But I'll
it
find out.
accessible? Pat?
Huh?
Is it accessible?
A what?
Accessible, like accessible with the BE at the end. I
No,
recognize. No, it's not.
No.
Okay.
No, I'll find out. And I mean, when I stop here, when y'all are tired of me, I'll go and look it up and get it for you. But then if they decide, you know, my Aunt Sally's here, so I'll just go ahead and reverse everything and put it back to where it was. So it's just for the reader's use. And this again comes in handy for the towns and anybody who's got to comply with Title VI.
Yeah, one quick question. Why is debug mode turned on for a live site?
Because I haven't turned it off.
Okay, that's important. It's really important that you do for a couple of reasons. One, from a security standpoint,
Right.
this is very not. I'm not trying to preach, but if anyone doesn't know this, for a live site, you really do not want to leave that open because someone like me or Tim or whatever can gather some information right from that area, which could be found out otherwise, but much more difficultly. That's not
Okay.
English, but you got it.
You
And
gotta
by the
watch
way-
out for Tim. Look out
By the
for
way,
Tim.
I don't know how to do that.
Well, Tim
They
is a
all
smart.
say that, the
Tim,
serious
oh yeah,
hackers.
they all say that, but Tim is really, really smart. But the other thing is, when you have debug mode on, there is hundreds of lines of code which are running on every page. And when I say 100, it could be 600. I have no idea in the number of hundreds, but it
Right.
slows your site down on top of the fact that it's a security concern.
Well, I will
And-
certainly turn it off. I do use Watchful, and that and I run them through the test to see how I'm complying on a site, and it would have caught it. I just haven't done that yet. We're still, and I think by the end of this month we'll be 100%, perfect the way they want it until the next change.
Yeah.
But now you'll notice we have a button right here up on the main menu. I mean, main image. And this is important to these city halls because they are collecting their funds. And now Centerville is collecting their funds strictly online. So this gives them the ability to go in and it takes them straight over to, there you go,
I would say
into
this
the
is
portal.
this is really cool. My only concern is someone who has an invisible handicap is that section where it says Centerville, Tennessee City Hall, and the text underneath is really hard to read. And so
Okay.
it would have been nice to have some sort of light background box that makes the text stand out from, with using opacity to make it actually so much easier to read.
Okay, point taken. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I will.
Otherwise, it's great.
So I designed their logo using their logo. I just put it together. I always put that right at the top as well as at the bottom of a website. And here you can see we've got everything broken down. But you'll notice the picture of Mini Pearl. Now, Emmanuel, it probably doesn't mean much to you, or anybody who isn't familiar with the South. But
I lived in the U.S. I did live in the U.S. for 30 years, just so you know.
Oh, okay. Pardon me. But I went out looking for a line drawing. That's specifically what I wanted of Minnie Pearl. This was her hometown, Centerville.
Yeah.
And I found one, and you could buy a copy of the image, not in electronic format. So I contacted the artist directly, and I told him why I wanted it and would he give me the rights or sell them to me? If it was a low enough fee, I'd certainly pay it. He says $12 and it's yours.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
And if anybody doesn't know who Minnie Pearl is, she is absolutely a legend. She was a fixture in the Grand Ole Opry show, and she would come out with that hat. You see the tag hanging off her hat. So the joke there is that she would buy the hat, leave the tag on it so she could return it after whatever event was that she bought the hat for. So Minnie Pearl is associated with the Grand Ole Opry radio show, which is, by the way, if you go to anywhere near and you can go to a Grand Ole Opry show, I highly recommend it. It is brilliant. Absolutely.
Yeah. And in this case, there's a lot of information in here about Minnie Pearl and her background, a lot of which I never knew. She came from a really wealthy family, and she just wanted to be an entertainer. I guess you can do that if you're in a wealthy family, but she became good at it.
And her family probably wasn't a big fan of her becoming an entertainer either.
I don't know. I really don't. Paul would have to speak to that.
I'm not sure that's exactly right. Her father owned a lumber mill and whatever, but she had a pretty good classical education from some of the better universities in Nashville. She studied a lot of dance and so forth. So it was hard to make a living just from dance, if you will, in the small town of Centerville. And so She was just doing some programs around and found, I think, a woman down in Mississippi that she decided to adapt her character from. And so she was doing a program for a local civic organization in town and showed that character, and somebody from, I think, WSM radio was there, and the rest is history. So
You could go into the menu under visitors, and there is an article I have pulled from online, again, with permission, to show the whole story of Minnie Pearl. But she was definitely the best well-known entertainer or celebrity that has come from Hickman County. And there's a lot of good music in Hickman County. There's a free show every Saturday morning that is broadcast on the radio, and you can go in person and go listen to this band. But anyway, so to go back to the site, you can see that what I've done here is this is the equivalent of a banner, but they're not paying us anything. And it does change out and swap out between the other community efforts at website presence. And then, of course, there's all of the icons for the community websites. So, I mean, it's just like, you know, the tourism stuff and the technical stuff. And then I put the upcoming events, so they're always listed in here. So if anybody's coming in October, first part of October, you will want to go to the Banana Pudding Festival. It is, it is a lot of fun. And then over here on the, huh?
My wife will be playing the part of Minnie Pearl.
Amazing.
Awesome. So on the right here, we have local news, and we're pulling that from the local newspaper. Now, the local newspaper in my county said you can use the news after it's 2 weeks old. Well, by then it's, you know, it's time sensitive information. So I've become more and more aggressive about taking stuff today if an event's happening tomorrow, like a meeting or a board or something. And Paul has been maintaining this because he gets the local paper and he knows what's important to the community. And then, of course, this in the bottom, you've got your contact, or go out and explore, forms and applications. And this is the forms that you would want to have if you're starting a business. And it's also up here in the main menu. Looks like it disappeared, Paul. I don't know what happened there, but we had it in the menu itself and it went across the page. Looks like all of the menus are a little bit odd now. Well, I'll have to add that to my list to do today. And broken down, the one thing, I've got the code on there with Stat Counter so I can see which pages are getting hit. I only take out the free version. You only get 500, the last 500 hits. But it's enough for the mayor to see the trends and where they're going and what needs to be emphasized or what people were really interested in on the site and putting more focus on that. And then I just used, got the calendar fixed. This is DP calendar, and I couldn't put anything on the weekend. I couldn't get any events to show up. And I had to contact my man in India, and it took him 4 hours. But do you have any idea what it would have taken me if it took him 4? I mean, I just couldn't picture spending that much time. And then we've got the forms and all of this information again. So I don't know what else to show you. You can go through the site on your own if you're interested. It's centervilletn.org. They had their site on townofcenterville.com. And I said, let's get rid of that one. You're already paying for your email under .org, and let's keep it consistent. So that's one of the things that I got them to do. Any questions?
It was really fascinating. Thank you so much for sharing this project with both of you.
Well, thank you. It was fun doing it. It was, and I got to realize I can work with people. I can actually, I can actually collaborate. Only took me 20 years to get to this point. So,
Master.
Awesome. Anne has a
So
question.
Anna asked a question, do they maintain the site themselves?
They have designated someone to do that, and I'm in the process of training her. She is the woman who is over human resources and writes all the paychecks. She's real sharp and she's picking it up good, but I do it in stages so that it doesn't overwhelm somebody. So you start with articles and, oh, we got a word misspelled, or there's a figure in there that needs to change. Simple things. And then I told her, I said, I'm going to come back and then we'll work on modules. So you build their skill set and don't overwhelm them all at once. I mean, you can see the glazed look in their eyes. It goes right over the head.
That's awesome.
But they can maintain it. That's the important part. If you put extensions in there that are easy to use, that offer front end editing, you'll be good with it. But obviously I prefer the back end, and I've told them that I will train them in it, but only after I'm sure they know what they're doing from the last session. Okay.
Just a quick thing. I happened to take a look. A lot of the images that you have on the site are not following good SEO or accessibility rules. So you might want to, fix that in the future.
Oh yeah. Well, I know I'm bad about putting in the title or the
alt tags. Gotta do alt tags.
Well, no, I wasn't even talking about alt tags. Like the actual file name is 45910, and it goes on for like 40 other numbers. .jpg.
Yeah, so we can do better
Stuff like that.
Okay.
And
Pat, can I see it in Hindi?
Sure. Let's go back over to the home page. And
wow.
There it is. Now, the first time because it uses, you have to have an API from OpenAI, I think it was. The first time it gets a request for a particular page, it does take about 30 seconds for it to translate. And then after that, it's stored. I think it's up.
It's actually faster than that. I mean, unless it's stored on the server, because I just did it and I switched to French, and the entire site was translated in like 2 seconds.
Yeah, well, that's usually because somebody's asked for it. Once that's been asked, then it's there for anybody. But the first time, let's say if I had a language in here that
actually, you're right. I just tried Norwegian because I lived in Norway, and it is translating it, and it's taking about 20 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm probably the guilty one about asking for the French before you got there with the Hindi.
One thing, by the way, though, this site is 10 megs in all encompassing, CSS, JavaScript, HTML, your fonts, whatever, and that's about triple the size that Google would like for you to build out a front page. Just so you know.
Okay, I did not know that.
You do. I did notice that most of the images seemed optimized.
Yes.
There are some images which are PNG, which don't need to be, and PNGs are fatter than optimized JPEG. But, and this is a very common thing. I'm actually doing at the Joomla Day France a talk on like a really deep dive into optimization of a website talk. And one of the ways that you can save space when it comes to load, because it's something that people do all the time, reload the page, your font files are shockingly large, not yours specifically, but in general. Like most of us will have, Font Awesome, but if you look at Font Awesome, you'll probably end up using like 30 characters of a Font Awesome file. But just looking here, you've got 600K in Font Awesome files. Well, you could get that down to 10K from 600. So you also have to look at, and obviously it's not something you do initially, but it definitely needs to be done long-term, because optimization how long it how long it loads is a big deal for Google.
This is such good information,
I was
Emmanuel.
gonna say, Joe, I think we have an upcoming topic and a presenter.
Yeah, I do
I
too.
absolutely would
I
like,
wanna learn.
Emmanuel, are you going to be available next month? Because I was going to talk about this at the end of the meeting, and I would love for you.
Depending on when next month, the answer is yes.
So
Another
good,
thing that's
because it's same time in the month, basically.
Good Thursday. We'll be in touch.
okay. And the other thing, you have a zillion console errors, which is bad because unfortunately, Google penalizes you when you have those. Now this one seems to be around Facebook something or another.
That's the tab on the side there.
Yeah, maybe. All I know is you have a lot of those, and you also have 404s. Now 404s are bad because Google does not like trying to go somewhere and not being able to find whatever it is. And this has to do with a module. There's a missing CSS file in the module mod.js Likebox Pro.
Okay, that is that one.
I think what we need to do is we need to have Pat come to next month's meeting and listen to Emmanuel and then go back and try to implement some of the things that she learned.
Yes.
We'll all be leaving saying, what about my site?
Well,
it's an excellent learning example. And thank you, Pat and Paul, for your efforts and for sharing your unique way of making content realistic on a website. And it's so inspiring what you do down in Tennessee for all these small towns and how modern they really are just because you have worked with them. So I applaud you for that and for participating in this meeting and in JDay, and hopefully everyone has been inspired to maybe try some of these methods when they're filling out content on their sites. Thank you so much for volunteering to do this. We appreciate it.
Yeah, and Pat, you should be a lot happier and self-confident than you come across as. You are the real deal. So
totally.
Well, I started into the, I'll tell you the backstory just a little bit. When 9/11 happened, I was working in Memphis as a programmer for writing software for credit unions. And then, 9/11 hit and everybody in Memphis started laying people off, bottom 20%, and I was one of the more recent hires. And then my headhunter called me up and said, we're going to pull you out the end of this week because they lost their major financial person in one of the towers. And so my husband said, look, we've got the house out in Perry County. You have the house over here in Memphis. If you don't have a job, you don't need the house. And if you don't have the house, you don't need the job. So we moved full-time out here, and I've been here ever since. And I didn't find a job of any kind for 5 years. And that was when I was hired to start the Chamber of Commerce. We were the last county in the entire state to have a Chamber of Commerce, and the state was pushing it. So I got to create it from the ground up, from bylaws and registering with the state and all of that stuff. And I did it for about 4 years, and then I just had almost 100 websites at that point that I was working on and working a full-time job. But, Joomla wasn't as complicated then as it is now. And I had to make a choice. So I chose to go with my heart in the design work and left the chamber. But I still go out and I meet people in the community. I stay relevant. I'm on the board of trustees now for the local library system. And it's becoming, I didn't realize how much work I was getting myself into. And I maintain their library website. And I've done that since 2005. So that was my background. And I had no idea I would one day end up here talking to people. I still hold everybody in awe because you're all so talented. And that's it.
Thank you. And thank you for your presentation. We're gonna wrap things up real quick here, keep it to an hour and a half. Joe, do you have any final remarks?
Other than to just once again say that I agree with Tim that Pat's the real deal. She comes in, she's quiet, but she's a live firecracker. So when she explodes and you find out what's on the inside of her, you find out how incredibly deep she is. I suspect that's the same for lots of other people in this group as well. And so I would hope that you would take some encouragement from what you saw today. And just like Robin said, anyone can share. We would love to know more about who you are, what you do. And it doesn't all have to be about Joomla. It can be about, like, you know, we might have somebody here that is a professional level skydiver or underwater person. Like, we really want to know who you are, what you're all about. So that's my ending remark for today, is that don't be shy, jump in the water. We're pretty safe here. I don't know any piranhas in this group that'll bite you. So, and it's really great information that you have on the inside of you. So please take the time to share it.
Oh, and our closing remarks. We're gonna end the meeting with Tim because he's here this month. Thanks for coming back. We missed you.
Yeah. Well, as usual, I hope that wherever you are, be it morning, evening, afternoon, or tomorrow, that this finds you well. Until the next time, enjoy your Joomla sites and God bless.
Bye, everyone.
See you later, everybody.
Bye-bye.